forward. Are we live? Yeah, we're live. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Gaytriarchy for Saturday, the 6th of April, 2019. I am Prince of Queens, and this is the Gaytriarchy with Spacepan and not Dana Martin. Why? Why? Well, that is because this is maybe the first guest. Okay, the first busy guest that probably gets invited to a lot of streams and stuff who Spacepan invited and got on this stream, and he didn't remember to like check in, so he invited her probably about 5 or 6 days ago and then forgot to check in and be like, we're doing Saturday 4 p.m. PST, and so she probably forgot, because that is a very common thing. I'm sure that I've done it before. I know I have done it before.
So, yeah, it's my bad. I should have thought to check in, because it has been kind of a few days.
There's a chance that she's going to come along and show up, but that is the state of things. And I would apologize, and I am sorry. I should have. I can always take responsibility for the things that I could do better myself, because that is what people who are in such positions should do. And I should have been like, okay, remember to remind her, you know, like, because I should have said that. I should have thought about that myself. But I didn't. And so here we are. We're going to talk about some stuff. I'm getting over a cold. My it turns out like Sudafed and whatever is in Dayquil, you know, the stuff that's supposed to clear your sinuses and your congestion and everything, that takes a lot longer to start actually working than the ibuprofen part. Like, you notice probably about like an hour and a half later when your you know, sinuses in your chest fully start clearing up when you take that stuff, but the pain goes away quicker. That's what I've noticed, and that's what
you gotta just drink more of it. You just keep drinking it. Then you have a good time.
I'm doing the Valley of the Dolls with it. So yeah. So what were we talking about?
Oh, we were about to start talking about
before I say that,
reparations, and then we're like, this is something to talk about on air because it's so hysterically funny. So and a little bit surreal.
Duin Aether gave me $1.99 and didn't say anything. So thanks a bunch. Thank you very much. That's nice of you. So yeah, okay. This is how it came up. We were talking about how the Democrats. Well, okay. So the Democrats are functioning in this sort of Gulag Archipelago type of way, according to Spacepan. Now, I'm not super familiar with the text. I know what it must mean, which is probably like the inevitability of once you start asking for this outcome, and then even if you try to enforce, okay, so once you start trying to ask for the outcome, which would be communism or socialism, which is unachievable. Like, it's not just that it's never been tried, it's that it's unachievable. You can't lead a civilization without leaders. It doesn't work. There's, you know, like, there's this myth that, oh, all of the rich people don't do anything. No, most of them do. Yeah, even the ones that inherited their wealth, most of them still manage the estates and are working all the time. And that's just kind of how it is. Watch the movie Crazy Rich Asians. You can tell because that's accurate. But so the thing about once people start asking for communism and socialism, which is like everybody is equal, nobody is in charge, it's like, well, then how do you get anything done? Well, you kind of don't, but you can make universal rules that everybody upholds, that they all have to behave in certain ways. And that's sort of what that's the easiest thing to do. Like, it's self-enforcing. Everybody, you know, convince everybody that it's their responsibility to report to the authorities when somebody does something transgressive to the revolution. Currently, that is call out culture, except for you don't report to the authorities. The authorities is social media generally. And so if anybody does anything wrong, you call that out. You hold them accountable. You tell them that that was a microaggression publicly, blah, 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 and embarrass them so that hopefully they will start doing that too, so that it doesn't happen to them, because they think that the only, like if that's people's introduction into not being racist, which it honestly is, you know, like a lot of people never go through a spell in their life in which they're like really forced to think about how different it is to be of a different skin color and like be around a family like that, get to know these people well, and like be like, okay, there is differences. Like I shouldn't entirely be colorblind on a person to person basis. Maybe I should advocate for colorblind laws. I mean, yeah, definitely, probably. And maybe I should advocate for, if I'm just meeting a person, I shouldn't make any assumptions, get to know them and treat them like I would any other person. But if they start seeming like they're honest and they're cool and somehow it comes up, except that, you know, a black person that grew up in Trinidad is going to have a little bit of a different experience than a white person who grew up in Seattle. So that is fine. But a lot of people never even like think about that stuff, and they end up kind of being thrust into first thinking about this stuff with call out culture. And it's the worst introduction possible, because it's not actually asking them to introspect. It's more like, you must agree with us or perish is the attitude, obviously. And then people get extremely, not even so much defensive, because that's not even the important part. That what they get is extremely terrified. You know, they are just like, they just don't want it to happen to them again. And they learn through observation that the best way to avoid it happening to them again is to learn what all the rules are, start reading all the blogs, and to start doing it to other people. Because once you're doing it to other people, you're almost never going to get attacked. But just make sure to not attack the wrong person. You can never attack the black lesbian in the wheelchair, of course. Unless,
well, that's the thing, yeah. They're always trying to like jump through the hoops and figure out what the rules are and play by the game, because they think there's a way to win. Yeah, no, there's not. Spoiler alert, there's not.
Yeah, the only way to win is to just like absolutely make it very clear that you've removed yourself from caring about it at all. And
you gotta roll 21 for that saving throw.
So yeah, the once it starts getting like that, though, that's basically all it ever goes to. You know, like there might come a dictator. You know, like there might be a Chairman Mao or a Stalin or a Hitler or something. You know, but that sort of that little phase just never really goes away. Like that it's not like eventually people get used to it and stop. You know, it's more like that eventually just becomes the whole thing, and then everyone starts starving, and then more and more people rebel, and then they get sent to gulags. And this is an inevitability. This is just, and I think that the Gulag Archipelago probably goes through numerous instances of this happening in the exact same way over and over and over, because that is like, it's like the social physics of how groups actually function once you start acting like that. Because I say that simply because I know what an archipelago is. It's a thing in music where you play a few notes and then repeat it in a different like key or whatever.
That's an arpeggio.
Oh.
Yeah, archipelago is like but I mean it kind of fits in a weird way.
What is the archipelago?
So archipelago, it's like a group of small islands all together.
Oh.
And I think the idea is you have like different separate little islands, so that way you kind of compartmentalize things. I'm not really sure exactly. I never made it through Gulag Archipelago. I tried to audiobook it, and like I thought, oh my God, this is like the most depressing week ever. This needs to stop. I'm just gonna listen to like horror stories or something stupid.
Yeah, yeah. I think that there's some scary stuff in there. Well, I like my little metaphor because I think my metaphor is true. That's what and so yeah, it's like that's what the Democrats are behaving like, and they just can't stop. Like they've only gotten worse, since Obama started it. Like he's the person who put it into motion, and the what's left of the Democratic Party is like people still doing that. And I think the reason why isn't because they're like thinking, yeah, this is a good idea, but more they are caught up in the mindset themselves. They're all terrified of the other Democrats for good reason. They're ripping each other to shreds at this very moment. All of the Democrats and the different supporters are all attacking each other. Whoever Me Too'd Bernie Sanders, probably the Kamala Hairspray people or something, they are going after him. And it's not because they think he did something wrong. It's because he's a white male and he's old. And then, the Joe Biden people, I think Joe Biden, who are they saying Joe Biden was attacked by, like, in the Democratic Party?
Sorry, I got a message from Dana Martin. She was like, "Oh, sorry, yeah, they usually remind me earlier," and I'm like, "Yeah, sorry." So I'm just see if maybe she wants to hop on now or schedule for another time.
No. Tell her it's that we're on air. Just say we're on air. She committed,
Mm-hmm.
So,
but you asked about Joe Biden.
Yeah.
What was the question? I heard Biden, and then I guess it was a question. I was like, wait.
Who do we think Biden was Me Too'd by? Like who?
You mean in terms of because I don't think he got. It seems like he didn't get Me Too'd by like real victims. It seems like he got Me Too'd by opportunists.
Okay.
Well, I don't really know. I don't know because a lot of the images are like it's like a lot of like really young children and like
yeah. Okay.
Ever noticed it's not like children mobilizing in Me Too? It's always like adult women.
Yeah. So maybe that's not the best example. Everybody who's here, could you please hit the like button so that this gets a little bit more thumbs up. So yeah, and hopefully Dana will be here shortly because supposedly she said yes. So
yeah, it looks like she might have another call, so it might be something we have to reschedule for another time. But I let her know that we're on now, and we're usually on for a couple of hours, so maybe we'll see her hop in for a bit. But more of the story lesson learned is gotta reach out to people in the middle of the week. But at least she got back. I'm glad she didn't like ghost. It was like those are like worst nightmares that she's just like the backs into the bushes Homer style.
Anyway. So the thing is that the Democrats not only are all these little scandals happening and like it's juicy, like it's not that they're not doing it to Kamala Hairspray because they are. They I still know a lot of people in the San Francisco Bay Area, and some of them I probably know a good like 100 kind of far leftist people at least that I just for whatever reason that maybe they don't post that much on Facebook. So because usually if people post a lot, I end up getting into arguments with them and then they delete me. But they, one of them posted one time and he was like, so I'm thinking I'm probably going to support Kamala Harris. Is that what I should do? Blah, 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 blah. And a bunch of people were like, yes, she's, work, sleep, slay, yas, or, like the queen, or maybe, I don't remember exactly what they said, but just that kind of thing. And then there was some people being like, I don't know. The leftists I know are saying that you shouldn't support her because she's in bed with the cops and she's a cop and blah, 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 because she used to be the district attorney or the attorney general of California or something like, I forget the exact positions. And supposedly she sold out people to private prisons, and it's like, okay, if you're gonna go by standards like that, you're never gonna have a president at all. Oh wait, that's what they want. And yeah, literally all of them are being attacked, and it's funny, and so it's like a lot of, there would definitely be an argument to be made that a lot of Trump's support has not really been super happy with him and everything. But Trump didn't get elected because people liked him. Trump got elected because he fought the Democrats and won. And so when you see a bunch of these bonkers people who are all like mudslinging each other, so like for identity politics and things like, oh, Kamala Harris is a cop and all this stuff, I mean, I just feel like the inevitability is that once Trump goes up there and like makes a fool out of all of them, he'll probably be reelected, even if there wasn't for the Russiagate thing, which it's not going to hurt his chances.
Well, if anything, it's going to help him now because he hasn't technically been exonerated, but he's been practically exonerated, which is crazy. Like how squeaky clean is he that they could investigate him that long and not even be looking for anything specific, and they found so little. Like it's pretty funny.
Yeah,
but like the crazy thing about like Kamala Harris getting attacked over being a cop is that like traditionally that would be something that's seen as like, oh, you have a very noble, upstanding position in the community, and that's the exact kind of shit that politicians run on usually. But the Democrats have this wacky foundation, right? So now they're kind of in this awkward scenario where you have like a core of maybe kind of normalish Democrats who like traditionally would go for that sort of thing, and then they have this weird radical contingent that's demanding something that's totally radically not based on that at all.
Yeah things like reparations. Literally every single Democratic candidate except for maybe Tulsi Gabbard is saying that they're going to pledge to give reparations if they win. Beto was doing it. Obviously Kamala, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren. I don't remember who else, but I think Joe Biden. Now Andrew Yang might not, but that's because everyone gets reparations. So like, but yeah, it's like once they're already attacking each other, and it's like there's just that ugly bad energy with the party, and then they're all like, let's tax everybody to pay for these people who, like Republican and moderate voters, I don't think really support the welfare state. I think that is something that is an issue that they actively oppose. Like
in theory.
Well, yeah, but that's what's important. So
yeah, but
wait. So what they don't support is the welfare state, and so regardless of whether it's more black people than white people on welfare, blah 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 blah, the people who say that, they usually are thinking of the black community. It's true. Like they would like to say that they're not or something probably, but it is true. That's usually what they're kind of thinking. And so if you start saying, well, all black people get money for no reason, even if they are working, imagine all those people like being opposed to that. But the Democrats are being demanded to say that, because if they don't, that means that my life doesn't matter to you. That my history, the 400 years of oppression and the slavery and the things that my grandmother is still alive to this day, and she was a slave. Okay, I go home every Thanksgiving and I hear about her being raped and beaten by her masters. So.
Well, like I'm all for reparations in theory, that if you can actually like look at your family history and you trace it back and you figure out this person is an ancestor of someone who owned a slave, and like you can really like work all that out and trace that, like, yeah, if you want to proposition that person, like, pay me. There was a case of that actually where somebody traced their history and the person said, oh yeah, sure, here's some money. Right. But like if you had it as that kind of a standard, what ended up happening is you'd realize like the overwhelming majority like can't link to that sort of thing, right? And that it's like so few people who would end up having to pay for these reparations had anything to do with even, you know, owning slaves. But then there's also other arguments, which I don't know, some of these might be kind of spicy arguments, but you know, there's this myth that America's wealth was built on slavery. It really wasn't. Had America not used any slaves, in the long run, America would probably end up having been a much more prosperous nation. Like the fact that they had all this slave labor actually kind of retarded innovations. And, you know, because that's basically what happens, right? Is that, you know, once you had, like, there's a point economically speaking where it's cheaper to just pay people to work and to stay than to pay people to be armed guards to like round up your slaves when they run away. And the only reason they were able to maintain slavery was because they could trust that, you know, the government, which, you know, everybody had to pay for, would, you know, be charged with having to round people up. And as soon as it was easy enough for people to escape and where the government couldn't help enforce this idea, well, like then it just stopped being profitable. Like slavery is actually not profitable at all. So that's like one of these great myths behind it. And honestly, if you look at, this is something Thomas Sowell mentions a lot too, that you look at like a lot of demographic and like statistical information regarding the African American community immediately following slavery compared to following the implementation of the welfare state. And what you find is that like Black families were a lot stronger, a lot better off. Arguments that had like better nutrition and things like that. It really seems like the welfare state has hurt the Black community more than slavery did in a way. So then I wonder, like, should we make the argument that like Black people are owed reparations for the welfare state, right? And like, what would that look like? You know, like we have to find a way to compensate them that's not through welfare for welfare targeting them. Because like, I honestly, I think that's a stronger argument to make. Is like, oh my God, we did these free government handouts and all this welfare, and it totally fucked everything up, and we're so sorry.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying, but what it's reminding me of is like the feminist way of dealing with, you know, the gender specific issues of men and boys, which is, oh, boys are suffering. More feminism, patriarchy hurts men too. You know, like that's what I'm thinking. You know, it's like, okay, yeah, men and boys are suffering because there's all these laws that are tangibly against us, and you know, we're shamed ever since birth. Our bodies are mutilated most of the time. That's totally okay with you. We're told that we are bad in elementary school all through college. Like we're told that we are, you know, like annoying versions of girls that do bad stuff. And, you know, maybe we are good scholastically, but that doesn't matter because we all put our names on our papers and tests so the teachers can grade however they want. And, you know, but they're like, well, no, you're unhappy because of toxic masculinity. You just need us to save you, actually. And it's like, I think that's the problem.
That would be the case.
Wait. I got two super chats. I got two super chats. So, Duin Aether said, I would suggest Chuck Norris versus communism. I'm not entirely sure what you mean by that, dude. So
that was back when you were talking about like Gulag Archipelago and like this use of like social manipulation for control. I think that was the overall context. I'm not sure in particular what, but anyway.
Miles Kinslow gave me $10. Very nice, thank you. I always appreciate Miles Kinslow, one of my favorite audience members. It says, "Hey Prince, did you see AOC's latest gaffe? Now if she only had a bottle of hot sauce in her purse." I haven't actually seen it. Why don't you give me more money and tell me what it is? I mean, you could also just comment it. But
I think I know what he's referring to. I think it was her fake Southern accent. It might be that, or it actually. She also had a tweet relating to reparations, the idea that they should take the money out of like white Social Security people to like pay reparations. Which, if you could like push a button and implement that instantly, and it would like only affect the boomers, I would like totally endorse that because whatever. But anyway. And then she had a second bit of it that was about like after white people are a minority, like we'll just do this for however many hundreds of years. Like just a point about like white supremacy, etc. So I don't know. AOC has. You can't ever say AOC's latest gaffe because we're never gonna know which one. There's like no point in time where there's only been one.
Yeah,
she's such a gift. She's probably my favorite politician now.
Yeah, no, she is, and people say, "Oh, it's actually kind of scary because maybe she's this actor set up by the Young Turks." Blah 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 blah. I found that Mr. Reagan video about it kind of bad. I will say. I think it was very poor video making. I don't like that Mr. Reagan guy's acting. I think he's super cheesy. He makes me just not trust him. I think a lot of people can kind of agree with that. And I don't like the way he was kind of being like, and here they admit that she's, and it was like, no, they admitted that they were looking for actors. They didn't admit that it was Cortez. I don't think, and I don't know if I watched the whole thing, but I'm pretty sure there was never a moment where it was like a smoking gun footage. And they acted like there was smoking guns. Now it's fine to have things that are bits and pieces of evidence that you're compiling and thinking about what they look like all together, but you have to admit that you're doing that. You don't just say, "In here it is, I am proving it," because then you look irresponsible and it makes people not trust you, and then you have to wonder why you're doing that. So yeah, but I think that, you know, I mean, she's horribly unpopular. People don't like her, and I think that ultimately she's doing more for the Republican Party. And I do worry about the Republican Party after 2020 if they remain powerful and everything. Like I do worry about some things, and maybe several things. I just don't really know. But at the same time, it's like, no, anything but the Democrats right now. The Democrats need to completely crash and burn. And, you know, like, I don't know what will form from the wreckage, but at the same time, you know, the Republicans changed dramatically since 10 years ago. So maybe the Democrats could too. I don't really know. That's just my thoughts about AOC.
Do and Aether clarified the movie? So I think that's the Chuck Norris versus. That's a movie? I wasn't sure.
Chuck Norris versus communism. Huh. I'll try to check that out. I will try to check that out. So,
apparently it is a movie, yeah.
Any news in gay stuff?
Yeah, there was the laws in Brunei. So it's news right now just because the laws are being implemented, but it is kind of old news because we knew that they were adopting Sharia law. And then it was announced quietly last December that they were going to implement some new laws specifically regarding fornication, which of course includes like homosexual acts as well as like adultery and things like that. So that's a pretty, I mean, it's sort of like an unsurprising story in terms of like yeah, Sharia law sucks. Like, you know, who knew? But it's kind of significant because it's the only Islamic sort of state in this part of the world, in like Southeast Asia. It's a tiny little country, but like there's some hypocrisy surrounding it because a lot of people are pointing out, you know, the I think Sultan is actually his title. But anyway, the leader and his family, he's like obscenely wealthy. And like they have this this woman who is part of like their harem, you know, has written a book exposing them, saying like they have all this crazy like sex and everything, and like the guy owns like 9,000 cars and 100,000 suits and has like 100 something different like palaces everywhere, and they weave gold into the carpets and shit, you know, like clearly not living this humble Muslim sort of lifestyle, right? So it's very typical in so many ways that they have these, you know, authoritarian sort of laws that only apply to everyone but them. Like they get to have their brothels and shit and all their harems and all this like lavish wealth everywhere. But
so what you're saying is that he his attitude is do as I stone, not as I do as I say, or do as I stone, not how I act. Yeah, is that what I mean?
Something like that. I'm sure he could remix that phrase somehow. But so some people have clarified though that like this is what always happens when you have Islamic style laws, where people who are like apologizing for or making excuses for these laws, they'll say, well, Sharia just means law. So when these countries implement Sharia law, it's technically like not part of like the real Islam, right? The hashtag that's not real Islam, right? And they argue a lot of what these imams are saying and what they're promoting don't really have authority in the religion, and that's kind of the moderate Muslim stance on it. So there is that, but then the other thing they say is they have this division where the laws only apply to Muslims and not to non-Muslims. But if you're a non-Muslim in that country, you're still supposed to kind of respect the law. So it's kind of a weird gray area there.
And you're taxed.
Yeah, that's another thing too. And like I think that part's actually in the fucking Quran. So like that's something you can't get around. Now with this law, I guess you have to have like 4 Muslim witnesses to it or whatever. So another argument is that it's like near impossible to actually get prosecuted under this law as written. But I mean, it's just like, I don't know. It's
just, well, yeah, no, it's messed up.
It's just retarded.
Now, the obvious question is, so remember how the Trump administration was saying that they were going to decriminalize homosexuality all over the world or something like that.
Yeah, Trump's counter jihad. Trump's jihad on the jihadis.
So the notion is like, because I've been seeing the LGBT people like actually, being like, boycott the Sultan of Brunei. What that's the country. What's it called?
Yeah, it's like Brunei. It's Brunei. So I don't know if it's Brunei or
Brunei or Brunei. Okay. Boycott him and blah, 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 blah. Now, how long do you want to see them? How quickly do you think they're going to change their minds if Trump tries to do something about it?
Well, I mean, they're going to oppose whatever action he takes. The only correct answer is to like see if people forget about it. In terms of like optics, if we're going to go like from an optics perspective, right? Because if he invades, they're going to say, oh my God, that's terrible, he invaded. If he doesn't intervene, they're going to say, you contradicted yourself because you said you were going to do something and now you haven't, right? So he's
they would be
in a rock and a hard place. And like, I remember we mentioned this like a few weeks back and I was blackpilled on it. I said they're probably going to use it to justify new wars. So it does seem to be kind of lining up that way if that's, where this is going.
Oh, yeah. I've actually always kind of thought, like, I thought since before Trump was going to get elected that he would probably actually end up going into war somehow. But, I mean, it's messed up because it's like every president does that, at least every president of my lifetime. The least amount of war was during Clinton, but he did declare some wars, just not a whole bunch. I think in like Bosnia, Serbia type crap, he was going in there. But Obama started the most and just tried to keep it secret. It's so embarrassing. Like, it's so embarrassing to like not really have thought about it myself. Like, I was like, whatever, I'm high.
I wonder how the Yang Bangers feel about the fact that Obama did so much automation with war. He deprived so many soldiers of their jobs, killing children and shit, because all the drones got to do it instead.
Is it wrong? Really? Is it messed? This is really messed up. I haven't ever said this out loud. I have thought about like, wow, what if we do go to war? What if there is a draft? And I was like, will they draft me because I'm pretty good at video games and I could be a good pilot?
It's supposed to be funny, but it's not because there's probably some legitimacy to it.
Yeah,
it was like the fuck up thing. Like, I'd fuck off. I don't care. I would fuck off. I don't care. I hate it when women shame draft dodgers. I'm like, bitch, all women are draft dodgers. Don't you fucking talk. Like,
yeah, there would be some like database for all of the gaming companies of like who are the particularly good players. I wouldn't even be in it. I probably wouldn't make the cut. Like, there's so many people who are better than I am at
Shit, yeah, if they could get my video game records, they'd be like, "Oh my god, you played that stupid Ragnarok mobile clicker for so many hours. You are worthless."
I mean, say I play hard games. Like I play like Apex Legends and Overwatch, which like there's a very, very high skill curve in each game. But I'm not one of the best players. Like I just barely got into the upper leagues in Overwatch and then can't stay there. Now, granted, I could stay there if I had a consistent team that was playing with me, and that's what most people do, I guess. But like Apex Legends, there's people at that game who are like super soldiers. Like they like okay, the deal with Apex Legends is that you're thrown into this big canyon that's really, it would be like a probably like a 6-mile radius or so, and you there's 60 players, teams, so 20 different teams. Each team has 3 people, and you run around trying to find guns and make your guns better with like barrel stabilizers and extended clips so that you have more ammo in the gun at all times, blah, 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 blah. And then you kill all the other people until there's one left, and then you're the champion. Well, the thing about it is that, like, usually it's not really like a teamwork game. It's like one guy is just a motherfucking super soldier and just runs around like tearing everybody up, and you get all this, like at the end I'll be like, cool, I got 2 kills. Like if we win, which I've, I probably won about a little bit over 20 times or so. It's like, cool, I got 2 kills, and then my teammate got 11. But if you die, you can't really almost ever respawn. It's really hard to respawn your teammate. Like, usually that team will finish you off if one of your guys is totally dead. And so it's like, the thing about that game is that, like, there's people, if you're running around killing 11 people in a game, you're really, really good. Like, that's not normal at all. So, yeah, there's a lot of those guys that are like that, and I'm just not there at all. I probably never will be, because they've been playing this type of game their whole lives, and they're usually, in their early 20s or something. So,
man, I would be telling them all about how I love to play Super Mario RPG. It's the only video game. It's the greatest game of all time. Like, they're just like, oh my god. Like, do you speed run it? I'm like, fuck no. I talk to every NPC. Like, I don't go up to the last boss until I've grinded all the way to the max level, which is 30 in that game, which is beautiful. All the numbers are so small. Like, nothing goes above triple digits. That game is beautiful. I wish they'd make another one.
Huh.
Why don't people support the things that really matter?
So Doing Aether give me $1.99, says play Dark Souls and get good. I would like to. I actually have heard that that's a great game. Dark Souls 3 is what people play. So maybe I will start. Yeah. I was gonna like change the subject or maybe look something up, because I feel like there was something important, and it might not have even had anything to do with this stream. It might have just had something to do with me personally. And
okay, I have a funny topic. It's not important, but it's super funny. Windmills. Okay. Windmills causing cancer, right? You've seen it popping up here and there. Like, the first time I saw it, I was like, this just looks retarded. They probably took him out of context or whatever. Or maybe he did say it. I don't fucking care. It's just dumb. And I kept seeing it more and more and more. I'm like, okay, fine. Let's actually look into this. Let's actually see what's going on here. So I looked at the clip. He's clearly fucking joking. It's clearly one of these cases where he does like the truthful hyperbole, right? Where he just throws out some like crazy bullshit statement. And then the media, their response to it has been so funny. I watched this MSNBC take on it, where like they play the trip of Trump, and then this woman is like, that was the president. That was the president of the United States, right? She's like so serious, like so dramatic, right? And then she's like, let's look at this claim that windmills can cause cancer, right? And they go back to this like study in the 1960s that like claimed that like low levels of sound can have negative health issues, but that it was all debunked because of the difference between volume and frequency or whatever. But like when you listen to Trump talking about it, he's clearly like he's basically doing a stand-up comedy act about how windmills suck. He's like, ever had a windmill? Fucking makes your property worth shit. Those windmills probably give you fucking cancer. They fucking kill birds. If you like birds, you shouldn't have windmills. It's a fucking bird graveyard under there, right? He's like, it's so funny. Like he's clearly just like shitting on windmills and like bullshitting. But it's another Kofefe thing, right? He knows that by saying windmills cause cancer, they're just gonna jump on it and be like, oh my god, and they take it so seriously. But then it got even better. It gets even better because what MSNBC does afterwards is they talk about, well, let's explore this conspiracy theory about windmills causing cancer. And I'm sitting there like, conspiracy? Like, how do you think that's a conspiracy? Like, it's a bad claim. It's a stupid claim, but that's not a conspiracy. They don't think that the windmills are colluding. Like, let's give the humans cancer through the little waves, right? No, that's not what conspiracy means. Like, literally, they're so basic that like to them any like weird or fringe opinion is conspiracy, even if it literally doesn't involve any kind of conspiring. And then it got even better because what they started to do was they were like, well, what people do is all these people who promote the idea of crisis actors and criticize David Hogg promote ideas like this because it might be true, even though it's been debunked, and they put it on their websites, and then it inspires more fear, and it's all financed by the people who support different energies that aren't wind, right? And it's just like you literally just made a conspiracy out of this like bunked claim. Like there, it's literally like the most like flamboyant projection ever, and I was just like, how is this real? That's why people are talking about fucking clown world right now. It's so true.
Yeah, well, I mean, don't you think that a lot of it is like narrative driven damage control for the fact that they perpetuated the biggest provable conspiracy theory in human history?
Yeah, they're just in not you. They're just stuck on not you. They got to keep saying not you all day now. Everything that they disagree with is a conspiracy. You? Not you, or sorry, not me, you. You, no, you, no, you, no, you, not you, no, you. I mean,
yeah,
sorry,
no, you, yeah, no, and they do that. I was actually in a Facebook argument with one of these terrible. He turned out to be the worst kind of gay. Okay, so I'll just sort of tell exactly what happened because might as well. The thing is, this one person posted and it's something like talking about Trump supporters or something, and then I was kind of like, okay, well, that this is not true. You know that you're being hyperbolic. Like the thing that you just said about Trump supporters is dumb, and a number of his because he knows a lot of people on social media, and a number of those people came to be like, it is true, they are terrible. They don't know any. These are people that don't know any Trump supporters, have never interacted with a single actual Trump supporter in any not even like just not in real life, but in over a call or anything. They've never like sat down and listened to the entirety of a live stream or anything. They just don't know. They think that Trump supporters are all racist, which is not true. They're way less racist than the left. Like it's just blatantly true if you actually know the dramatic majority of them. So, I started, getting annoyed. Like I was like, this is stupid. This is dumb. And so this one guy in particular ended up getting to the point. Like the conversation went around in all of these different ways, and I think that he was trying to start saying, well, Trump supporters are violent. They do all these terrible things. We should call them Nazis. We should say that they're the worst people in the world. I mean, it's very commonplace for violent crimes to happen, and somebody says this is MAGA country, and it was like, oh God. Lots to unpack here. You know what I mean? And so I was like, well, okay, that's actually not true. Can you name a single one that hasn't been like provably or obviously a hoax? And
And then they were like, yeah, when I took a shower and my mirror fogged up, there was a swastika on that. So how do you explain that?
No, it got to the point where, so I was like, what about Jussie Smollett? What about this one? And I linked Matt Christensen's recent video, which is about the, you know, what's it called? The, there was some.
Oh, the sidewalk shit, right? Or it was, a bunch of spastikas all over the place and like clearly feminine handwriting about
no, it was the sword in San Francisco.
Oh, I didn't see that one. I'm out of the loop.
Yeah. Well, Tim Pool's reporting on it too. And I was like, and so of course the guy like probably watched no more than 10 seconds of it. And he's like, I'm not going to watch some conspiracy theory video. And it's like, that's so dumb, you know, like that's, you're so dumb. Because it's like, I'm like, okay, let me guess. You call it a conspiracy video because it's on YouTube. Am I right? And that's
they do. I've had that too. Like, I'm not going to watch a fucking YouTube video. And I'm just like, what? Like, I don't know how to help you.
I made a video, and I don't really remember what it's called, but it was like something like everything on YouTube is fake, or everything on YouTube is fake news, or everything on YouTube is Alex Jones and PewDiePie, or so. I don't remember what
was it called. On YouTube.
Yeah. And it was a parody.
I'm gonna be AFK for just a moment, but I can still hear.
Okay, yeah. It was a parody video, and it was imitating the types of guys who say that stuff. And I was like, what if they really, really went on and wrote like a 4 or 5 minute monologue ranting about how much they hate YouTube? Like, man, it's hard to stay woke in the age of all this fake news and Russian bots. So see, this was a few years ago. That stuff would have been more funny because that stuff was new, but now that stuff is kind of cliche. And but the guy was like, I mean, every time I'm talking to one of these Russian bot people that I don't even think are real, they try to get in an argument with me like they know something, but this is just the internet. The internet doesn't matter. And then every single time, they always try and link me with a YouTube video. Like, you think I'm going to watch that? What is on YouTube? Like Alex Jones? You think I'm going to watch some Alex Jones ass crap talking about lizard people? Hell no. And you know what else is on YouTube? PewDiePie? That's like, no one watches that crap besides my 11-year-old cousin. This is just blah, 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 blah. And I don't remember what the video was called. I was actually searching for it the other day and I couldn't find it. So you guys try to think about it. It's called like something like everything on YouTube is fake, or everything on YouTube is a conspiracy, or that. And the thumbnail has Alex Jones on it. I think it might have been a pretty funny video because it really sounds exactly like these people. And there's so many of them, even still, like, and it's so incredibly dumb. So the guy said something like that about the Matt Christensen video, and it's like, no, Matt Christensen used to be a journalist, and he goes through numerous news stories and footage from local news and talks about how, like, supposedly this guy in crowded San Francisco, and you know, the funny thing is that in the neighborhood where this incident happened, I was right by a good friend of mine's house that I used to go to all the time. So I know exactly what church with the roller skate that they're talking about. It was like literally around the corner from my friend's house. I walk by it all the time. And so, yeah, it's very, very busy. The idea that anything like that would happen there is very, very slim. And then supposedly there's lots of video evidence of the guy, but they never really show it. And the guy like got away, got to the cops. Now, in fairness, there is a possibility that could have happened because it is really, really busy around there. And the thing about San Francisco is that there's always a massive amount of foot traffic, even in the places that are more residential-ish, which it kind of is, but not even really. Like, it's very metropolitan in that area. Like, it's kind of like New York City, where there's just people everywhere all the time in that little area. So he could have maybe just ran away and blended into the crowd. Like that's a possibility. I will admit it. But
really quick here, when that person said that their 11-year-old cousin watches PewDiePie, did you correct them and say that your cousin's actually 9?
Nobody actually said that to me. That was the character in my video.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, but this guy called the Matt Christensen a conspiracy video, but it's like, okay, no, it's literally not. He's just saying his opinion from the facts as he sees them. And then I started talking about, I was like, look, the Democratic Party or the left hates us, and gay men have Stockholm syndrome, and they won't admit that this is people that all they ever do is talk trash about us, especially white gay men. Or I don't even think I said especially white gay men, because in the circle of people that this was, it would have been considered racist to point that out. Like they would have accused me of saying white lives matter or something.
That's the Gulag Archipelago. That's it's closing in on you.
Well, no, I just okay. I don't think that the guy whose Facebook wall this was on, he ended up admitting that I was right. And he's actually always been cool, and I've posted a lot of crap that he has seen, and I know for a fact that he just doesn't really care. He's actually a really funny guy. He moved up to San Francisco from LA, and he was a adult film star, and he's very, very muscular and gritty, you know, like bear-ish, like muscle bear type. And he when I first met him, he was in the park in San Francisco, and he was wearing a Speedo, and you know, he all has like a kind of a he like just enough to like see his six pack, but like still kind of like you know, a little probably soft to the touch at the same time. Muscle bear, that's the type of guy that he was. And like he was just like hanging out in the Speedo, and he was like, God, it's awkward here in San Francisco. You go to LA and just everyone's in a Speedo. Look at those people on the bus. Don't judge me. You know, so, but he was making a joke out of it. He's like, no, I'm gonna wear my Speedo. I don't give a fuck. I'm a porn star. You know, and like, so I was like, I like this guy. It's refreshing that he's honest about that type of thing. And he's always been like that, you know? So I feel like he's not going to be easily indoctrinated into the feminist religion, because he's so masculine. He's so, aside from the fact that he sounds pretty gay when you talk to him, like he's very, very masculine. There's a lot of that in San Francisco. So he kind of admitted that I was right, but then like he knows a lot of people because he's like a porn star. And then all these other guys was just
that's the biblical understanding of no. Hello?
What does that mean?
You don't know that? No, in the Bible, if to know, it means to fuck someone. So they say, oh, no, in the biblical sense.
Yeah, well, both things. I'm pretty sure. No, he's the type of guy that's like always posting at like
that silence. I was like, did I break everything? What happened?
No, it'll be like 2:30 a.m. and he's like came home from a bar and like there's nobody with him or something. So he'll like post a selfie of him pulling up his shirt on his belly, except for now he has a beer belly because I don't think he's actually acting in adult films at this moment. Maybe some go-go dancing, but like but see, like you can do that in San Francisco as like a beefy muscle bear dude who, you know, doesn't have a six-pack. Like you can be like a pretty kind of chubby guy, because there's a lot of guys who are into that. So he'll go home, he'll pull up his shirt for a selfie, he'd be like, I'm home alone, probably because I got this beer belly. And I think that's him trying to get laid, like trying to get some guy to come over. But like, you know, so it's like I think he's cool. Like I'm okay with that level of shamelessness from masculine gay men, you know? I appreciate it.
I wonder if like there's just like a pretty big contingent of gays that like they they won't like bend to feminism, like they won't break in, but they're kind of like carefree and easygoing enough that it'll take a lot for them to snap and be like, okay, fuck you bitches, you know?
Yeah,
like there's so much space where it's easy to just kind of like avoid it, maneuver around it. And I wonder if there's going to be a point where like all of these bastions of social justice have like become so over the top that like there's just like all there's just a revolt or just conclaves.
That's what I like to think. And see, the thing is you know, like there still is enough gay men in San Francisco that if you go to the right places and live in a right enough neighborhood, you can just only ever be around gay men all the time. You know, like you don't have to deal with women at all. And when you do, they accept that they're in your territory. They're your territory, so they'll be on their best behavior. Because you know, I knew some really crazy feminists in San Francisco. Like there's this feminist named Kitty Stryker, who's like infamous for being one of the worst. She used to write for Everyday Feminism. She has a published book. She's a straight girl, but pretends that she's queer. She's a kinkster. She is a body positive feminist. She had some recent controversy because she's trying to be a really good ally to trans women and blah, 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 blah. And she would go to like gay sex parties and be like really nice. And, but I guess, okay, so not gay sex parties, gay parties that were kind of like raves. There'd be like 200, 300 people and there'd be a DJ dance floor. And I would like usually be the DJ or something like that. So I'd always be at them. And then I would just smoke the whole night because I used to chain smoke when I lived in San Francisco. And I would be on this like little patio thing. So I met her out there because it's like, who else will sit there and like smoke like 3 cigarettes with me, you know? Besides this one of the 2 women in the whole place, you know? So I thought she was actually really nice. And it turns out she's absolutely insane, but she was on her best behavior around me. And so I think it's like this guy that I'm talking about, he's probably going through that same exact thing with me. It's like when he sees this stuff on the internet, he's like, oh, that's annoying. But he doesn't really care because he is always around gay guys. And, you know, for me, it took moving up to Seattle to realize that, like, no, these people can do and will, if they get the chance, take over everything. And the only reason that there's gay bars in San Francisco is because there's lots and lots of gay men and they congregate and they go to meet each other and they pack up the place and women don't want to go. But if they had an inkling that they could take it over and turn it into an intersectional feminist safe space, they would. So it was funny because eventually his one other friend was just so stupid and, you know, refusing to admit that there's validity to these, the fakeness of the hatred of Republicans. And then I was trying to talk about the hatred, the blatant, the obvious hatred coming from the left, the Democrats. And he was like, well, I was like, Democrats hate gay men. They never say anything good about us. And, you know, and he's like, oh, I don't believe it. And I was like, okay, well, you watched a video? And he said he would. So I shared the video with the one called Gay Men Grope Women or whatever frequently, the origin story of this myth. That's what I think it's called. Yeah, Gay Men Grope Women, in parentheses, the origin story. And he watched it because I said, I was like, look, there's like 5 or 6 examples of this blatant smearing of the gay community in this video. And it's really hard to argue that the Democratic Party doesn't hate gay men, you know, because it's like if the Republicans said something like that, they would never get over it. If like, imagine if it was like the religious right saying that gay men are constantly groping women. It would be tabloids, like they would use that for 20 years to talk about how Republicans are bad. So
they'd call it a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, nowadays. They would.
And they wouldn't be wrong. They'd actually be correct.
Yeah. Well, kind of, because it doesn't really involve well, it does, like the patriarchy, I guess, is a conspiracy theory. So it kind of does, yeah. But so I showed that video. And then he was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I remember being younger and feeling entitled to touch my female friends' breasts whenever I want to. And I remember being at gay bars and seeing other gay men grope women. And I also remember drunk women going into gay bars and touching all the men. And then he just like changed the subject. And after he had been arguing with me relentlessly for a really long time about everything that I said, he had a little like horribly cheap, stupid non-defense of what he was trying to defend. Like basically being like, nuh-uh. And like, okay, the thing is, there was like well over 10 guys arguing in that comment thread. And like nobody else actually said, yeah, I've seen that too. It was just the one guy. But they were all arguing with me. They're all like, yeah, Republicans suck. But then they were like, yeah, I don't think that that's true. But, you know, because if they did think that it was true that gay men constantly grope women, they would have pounced on that opportunity to join in because they're ganging up on me about everything else. Right. And so that guy basically said, no, it is true. I've done it. And I was like, oh, you're one of those. You make me sick, you homophobic piece of trash. You're willing to lie about your own history in favor of selling out your community to people who hate us, to look favorable in the eyes of people to hate us. You know, and then I commented again, and I was like, wait, you probably work for the DNC in some capacity or another, don't you? And then after, you know, posting like 20 times, he just disappears.
I wonder, though, if maybe they actually aren't lying about their own history, and that's part of their reason for perpetuating the idea that it's normal, because it follows the pattern of male feminists, you know, tending to be kind of unsavory.
No, I think that he was a gay church lady that is professionally employed by the Democratic Party.
Yeah, maybe.
If you saw him, you would probably think so, too.
And that's like a fucking psyop, too, and it's like that... I feel like because so many of them are convinced that like everything on the right is a conspiracy, it means that like when they start conspiring together, they feel like, well, we're the good guys, so we're allowed to do it. They're already doing it, you know?
Yeah. No, there is definitely that attitude. But they've been doing it for so long, and they've been doing such horrible things that it has never occurred to them that they're the bad guys and that they're the ones that are, you know, coming up with all of these conspiracies. Like Brian from Honey Badger was explaining to me how the people at Berkeley, I'm just going to say this quickly because I don't remember how he told it exactly. The people at Berkeley who are against free speech, they are the exact same people. You know, they follow the exact same tradition, and some of them are the exact same people who were alive during the free speech movement for communism in the 1960s. And the reason that they don't want free speech now is because their ideology is totalitarian and it has no room for freedom of speech. And they figure that any other quote unquote ideology that might rise into power would do the same thing to them. Which isn't really true because it's based on, you know, free speech. And they think that capitalism is an ideology as opposed to a convenient way to like get things from each other if you have one thing, you know? And so, yeah, it's like this like weird projection thing that they do.
Was that when you had the fireside chat?
I think so.
No, I hate that shit too. That's why my definition of capitalism is the first time one human voluntarily gave something or provided a service to another person.
Oh, hey, Plato Emerson's back. He says, stop calling every gay man who is over 50 a church lady, Miss Thing. The guy wasn't over 50. He was probably barely over 40. He was acting like a gay church lady. Okay, I'm not talking about age. I'm talking about attitude. If you had any idea why I say that, you would know that. But you basically just come to my channel to try to be disagreeable. No, not still. No, literally not. I'm 37. Okay? I can say whatever I want about my peers. Okay? Dude, you're literally just wrong. There's literally a reason why you show up in my comment section and you don't have a channel and people don't listen to you. I don't want to be that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, but this has been a repeated pattern with you. You put words into my mouth. You assign meaning to the things that I say. And it's annoying because theoretically, I would probably actually have a lot to talk to you about. But you can't listen, even though that is your, like, why you're here. All right?
All right, you can seal that with a Z-shaped finger snap. Which you snap 4 times, not 3. That's the secret.
No, it really, really bugs me when gay church ladies, like, cut themselves off from, like, listening to guys who are no longer just young guys. You know, like, when you get to be 30, okay, remember when you were 21? I know it's going to be hard to remember, but you were listening to guys who were like 37 and it was like, oh my God, this guy's so much older. He knows so much, blah, 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 blah. He's from a different era, blah, 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 blah. Well, I'm that guy to a lot of younger guys now. And also a lot of the guys that are older will perfectly admit to me that they're like, wow, you have such insight to the younger gay men. It makes so much sense to hear from you because you've really, really been around them and you've been around the gay scene, you know, just constantly for like the last 20 years. And that, you know, is cool to hear from you. And I've grown out of touch because I don't go out anymore, blah, 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 blah. And then there's some older gay men that be like, I know everything. I'm old. And it's like, dude, you don't have to be like that. I know that you know some things and I'm perfectly willing to listen to you, but you have to start listening to me at this point because I'm, you know, gay middle-aged. So.
All right. Well, point of departure was gay church ladies can be below 50.
Oh, yeah. Gay church ladies can be like in their late 20s. I mean, and there's, okay, there's a difference. I think Jordan sometimes confuses gay church ladies with intersectionals, and they're different. The gay church ladies support intersectionality and they want to be a part of it. But the thing is, gay church ladies are very, very often, probably more than often, employed in some capacity by the Democratic Party, usually by way of HIV and AIDS charities and harm reduction, which is HIV and AIDS stuff, even though some of them are not harm reduction, like tweaker.org. It's literally called tweaker.org, and it gives out like free little bags of lube marketed to be for gay crystal meth sex addicts because they know that it's more likely that they'll get HIV if they aren't using lubricant, which is true, but their little logo has a sexy looking, you know, gay male cartoon devil guy, and he is smiling like naughtily and it's kind of funny to think about that being harm reduction because it seems a little bit more like it's glamorizing crystal meth use to me. But there's a whole network of these guys who do these things. Some of them do things that are, you know, good, like organizing the lifelong AIDS charity fundraiser, which I don't know, maybe most of that money doesn't even go to AIDS and maybe just goes straight to Media Matters or something because it's likely, maybe. But you know, it does form positive community. I've known a lot of guys who did that, and they were all actually pretty nice guys, and they had real friends from that weren't shallow friends. I think that was a good idea. But those guys who do all that stuff, like their lives revolve around the HIV industry. They also support the intersectional non-binary people because they're supposed to have this political alliance with them according to the Democratic Party. But what they don't understand is that the young guys, the non-binary people, they hate the older gay guys. They think of them as the old guard, and they're waiting to, like, I don't know, close down all the HIV centers and like open up HRT clinics or something. Like, I don't know. So
from HIV to HRT. That kind of is the overall momentum of it, like, because there's nothing left for them to really advocate for it. So it's always this like all-in trans stuff, and like there's so much support involved in like in order for a person to transition, like in every way, like the amount of like hormone, the surgery, the counseling, like it seems like a very kind of expensive endeavor. So I feel like they're just seeing dollar signs. Although I suppose HIV is like that also, so I don't know.
Wait, explain your thing again. Like, I didn't quite.
Well, just this idea that if they're trying to use this as like a platform for like getting donations and setting things up and having all the support. Like you think about like trans issues and you're kind of like, this is such a small percentage of people, but if they can like promote it more and then and then everything involved in just the maintenance of it, it's so high maintenance, you know, the same way HIV is, I guess in a different way, but
I think that's
there's kind of a comparison there.
No, I think that's definitely true, and I think that's definitely why there is money in like weird, you know, around transgender issues. But I think that with the young people that are, you know, like that are supported by the gay church ladies, except for the gay church ladies don't know that the younger people hate them because they're cis and mostly white. I think that with the younger people, because I've actually known a lot of them, it's basically it's completely shallow. They haven't even thought about it very much. It's just that all that they know is that by being genderqueer or non-binary or trans, they have gotten a lot of attention. And a lot of people have fawned over them. And it's the first time in their life that that's ever happened to them. So they want to make a career out of it because, you know, Cat Black did.
And that worked out great. That worked out spectacularly well.
Oh my god, you know, I encountered the funniest thing. And I hope I can find this comment. I think it was under the ContraPoints Vice magazine, you know, commercial that they made for ContraPoints. I don't know, I was just saying, you know, ContraPoints is awful, just whatever I would say. And okay, you know how I say that like Cat Black was canceled by YouTube? Like she used to be sponsored and promoted and then they stopped, and she made that video like F YouTube, and she ranted about how they are rude and that they never gave her anything and blah 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 blah, and then she quit for like 5 months and came back, and everybody's like, oh, she's like, no one watches my channel anymore. So it's like somehow something happened, you know what I mean? Well, and you know how I also think that a lot of the ContraPoints quote unquote fans are not real. Like there's a little fleet of, you know, maybe just 100 people that they kind of like pay part-time to go troll everywhere. And one of their biggest things is defending ContraPoints. And well, one of the things I saw from one of those people, like I was like, no, ContraPoints is awful. Like ContraPoints is like ContraPoints says that they talk to the right wing, but ContraPoints only ever mocks the right wing and lies about them. And then this one person literally said, that's not true. Compared to, I don't remember who the other person was, but like compared to so-and-so and Cat Black, ContraPoints is really, really nice. And I was like, funny that she mentioned that, because I think Cat Black used to be somebody that you would have been defending, but YouTube realized that she was just a vile monster, that it was completely racist, hated gay guys, and doxed people once or twice a week on her Facebook fan page. So then they told you, they decided, let's get somebody who we can pretend is nicer for a while, and then get all the fans to throw Cat Black under the bus.
That's funny. It's a funny framing issue too, right? Because then it still kind of keeps Cat Black in the picture as like the previous standard. and it also like it also just like, I don't know how to describe it. Like I guess part of it is that when people talk about these things, if they can mention another YouTuber, it like gives them cred, you know? But then what you notice is that people in a lot of these spheres, if they're fake, they just kind of, there's like a short list of ones that they mention. Like all the ones that get mentioned in like a hit piece or whatever, if they're talking about the right wing ones. But then with the left, it seems like it's a really, really, there's not a lot of them. It seems like there's not as much diversity of thought, and that you couldn't list as many people who make like left wing content. I don't know.
It's the Gulag Archipelago.
There's just not so many of them. I don't know. I wanted to bring up a topic that kind of fits in with that, as well as this whole conspiracy angle, because you mentioned Alex Jones a while back, and it's been on my mind.
Okay, I'm gonna mute myself and try to find that video, because I have to know. I'm actually really frustrated by not knowing.
So okay, but the video that I want to talk about is the full 3-hour deposition that came out about a week, or I guess earlier this week, which was So Alex Jones is getting like sued for defamation by Sandy Hook families, and they had this big long deposition where they're questioning him about certain things and trying to build the case for this. And it's fascinating to watch for lots of reasons. It's funny at times. It's a little bit scary at times. It really is a solid drama. A lot going on there. I don't even know where to begin. But the lawyer, like, interviewing him is so condescending, so douchey. I get this kind of his job, but I really don't think he made the case very well at all. And of course, Alex Jones is kind of giving him a hard time, like, because a lot of this is like statements he made several years ago. And like the lawyer would take like tiny, like 10 or like 5 to 10 second clips and then put them all together into little edited pieces that he made. And Alex Jones is just sitting there like, what the fuck is this? Like, I don't like, do you just taking shit of different clips all and putting them all together, right? And like he's kind of, I think, milking this idea of like, I'm so confused, what is all this, whatever. Because that was kind of true, but like, I don't know, like as a lawyer, that would be such a dumb thing to do. Like, why would you edit and clip things up and chop things up that way when you know that's going to create this massive opening for him to be like, how do you verify any of this shit? I don't know what you did. You could have changed the audio. You could have done anything. I don't know what the right? Like what you do is you would take like real videos and you would take sections for like, this was the one you said on this date, and you'd have separate files for it. Maybe you crop and clip things, but like to put them together into one edited file just for the lawyer's convenience of having his evidence that way was stupid. But anyway, it was chilling to watch just because like ultimately you take a step back and you're just like, what did he even do? Like he just asked some questions and had some, I think, some good faith positions regarding it. Mm-hmm. And like the precedent that it would set if there's any, I mean, there's already been repercussions for Alex Jones, but like for him to like for this case to actually go through, for him to like be like convicted, or I don't know if it's considered a conviction in like civil court with the defamation. I'm not sure if that's the correct term, but anyway, this is hashtag not a law stream in case anyone's confused about that. But like, it's so chilling because it's like all he's done is explore different theories and question certain things. And there's a lot of people, and to some degree I'm in this camp, where when I see the way these lawyers are going about it, and when I see the way the media is going about it, it makes me wonder, like, what's really going on here? And the way that these parents are responding to it, to me, it does seem like Alex Jones got a little bit too close to something that people don't want to really question. So I guess that's as far as I'll say, but
well, I mean, technically, very technically, Sandy Hook could have been a hoax. It could have been sponsored by the Obama administration. And because when did it happen?
This happened in December 2012.
Yeah. Oh, that would be hard. I think. I mean, they legalized they I think that they signed the bill in 2012, but they didn't actually put it into law. I don't think it actually went into law until 2013.
Yeah, there's a lot of weirdness surrounding it, especially with the way the reports were, how things were. Like there was a report released, I think, just like
hold on. Yeah. I need to give the disclaimer. I don't know anything about the case. This is by no means something that I'm advocating. I want to make that clear on my live stream because I don't want to be somehow lumped into the Sandy Hook truthers or something category, because I literally am not. I'm just saying that there is a potentiality that legally the government can organize and pay for hoaxes like this.
Yeah, they've admitted
to hoaxes that would look like this has looked.
Or even not even necessarily a hoax, but a false flag. And that seems to be the position Alex Jones has moved to, is not that it was like a totally, completely fake thing, but that like there were actual deaths there. It's just that it was set up by the government and done in a certain way. And everybody says like, oh, that's such a horrible thing to suggest. But like, if you consider, like, let's say that one of those theories is true, wouldn't it be horrible to promote the official narrative if you didn't look into it? Like that's true either way. It's ultimately a matter of fact. It's a question of fact and what's right. And it seems to me that not a lot of people were willing to even consider that or even look into it. And those who do, get like get sued for defamation, I guess. I don't know, but that was a crazy thing that had happened, and like, but it does seem Orwellian, just like watching that 3-hour deposition.
Yeah, I haven't seen it at all.
I watched the whole thing. I couldn't like look away. Anyway, but that was just on my mind because they mention, and it's like, okay, so you have all these Democrats who like totally are on board with Russiagate and are die hard about it. How are they
crazy diehard?
Huh?
Crazy diehard to the point where they're willing to violate the Constitution and willing to the stuff that they're asking for is so against like how politics works, at this point, that if we were to give them what they wanted to satisfy their absolutely delusional, like just deranged, crazy base of people, which it wouldn't satisfy them. There's nothing you can give these people that would, like, you could have Hillary Clinton go on national television and say, I organized Russiagate. I was very angry about losing the election because I put Donald Trump up to run against me. I propped him up. I encouraged him to do it because we knew each other and I figured it would be the easiest way to win. So when I lost, it was the most humiliating thing ever. And I thought that I could convince people that he had stolen the election. I was wrong to do so, blah, 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 blah. And people would say, no, that's not true. She's lying. Like they would somehow do that,
There's a Russian gun to her head somewhere.
Yeah.
Rachel Maddow would definitely be in that camp.
Yeah.
I think she lost something, like some ludicrous number of subscribers or followers on some like platform following all this stuff. People are really getting sick of that.
It's that her ratings have gone down about 3 million a night. So she was getting, I think she was like the highest rated cable news show for probably like the last 6 months of the Mueller investigation. And then she ended up dropping to like 6th place or something, and Tucker's on top again. Oh, I know what I want to talk about. Did you see that Vox video that was supposed to be a big expose where they're exposing how Tucker is a hypocrite because he supposedly hates the elites, except for he brags about being an elite and he talks about the peasants at the gates or whatever. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see this. It sounds funny though.
They have like a phone call with him. Like they got somebody to call him and they recorded it. But they take him out of context. Like it's like you never really know what he's saying. And since it's Vox, like Vox is the worst. Like whatever the worst propaganda blog was 5 years ago, like I don't know, it would have been Gawker or something. Vox is the top. Like it is the scuzziest, most disgusting. It's blatantly communist. Ezra Klein can't ever tell the truth. He like, it would be impossible. You could hold a gun to his head and be like, what is next to your head? And he would be like, that is a capitalistic device that can't actually hurt me because I'm a socialist. So, you know what I mean? It would just be like, what? That's his level of, Ezra Klein's the founder of Vox. And so it's hard to know what it actually is that the conversation was really about, and if they were trying to entirely take Tucker Carlson out of context, because he says things like he was like, well, yeah, I mean, when the peasants are storming the gate of the castle, you have to give them something to make them happy so that they're all willing to go away, and that's what I do, or something like that. But it's like, I refuse to believe that Tucker Carlson, even in private on a telephone call, would be so stupid as to say something like that. That's absurd. There had to have been some context for that, and there easily could have been.
I guess what I always think back to, it was like, I just like this major facepalm moment with Tucker Carlson where he was who was I forgot who he was debating, but they were talking about automation and truck drivers, and he was saying that he would support like a measure that like doesn't allow self-driving trucks because it would put too many truck drivers out of business. And I'm just like I was like giving Tucker that dumb look that he gives everyone, you know, like to my computer screen. Like I just couldn't stare directly into it. And I wonder if that quote, like that attitude kind of sinks into that, where he's just like, because I feel like he has to be smart enough to know that that's just completely retarded economically speaking and makes absolutely no sense, but it's like a popular position. So that's like giving the peasants at the gates what they want. I feel like it's kind of, that might be kind of a stretch, but like that just connected in my brain, and I wonder if maybe there is something to it. But like clearly it's like about peasants at the gates. It's clearly a freaking metaphor. Like I don't know. It's I remember I think Vox had a different video, like so supposedly exposing that involved like some European journalist or something. And like he was arguing that it was like taken out of context.
Well, yeah. Miles Kinslow says he was debating Shapiro.
Oh, was that Shapiro? Okay, yeah. And I'm sitting here, I'm just like, how come they were both socialists? That's just like Jordan Peterson could be debating that like that Marxist dude, and I'm like, how come there's no capitalist debating?
Well, but the funny thing was that he also said, and they played this audio at one point during the call. He said, "Oh no, I came from money. I don't need to make money. I have a trust fund. Blah 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 blah." And they're like, "So what's the whole cable news thing?" And he's like, "Oh, it was just a phase." But it's like he's still on air. So like obviously there's something weird going on with this conversation that we don't know about.
Oh yeah, that's
kind of a smoking gun.
Well, it's also stupid because like why would you even like supposedly if like everything Tucker Carlson says is such bullshit, you know, you shouldn't need to resort to those kinds of tricks. You can just like even I, like if I want to make a video criticizing Tucker Carlson, I'd find all kinds of stuff in context that I'd be like, no, I disagree on this. Like it's not that hard. It makes you wonder, like, why do they resort to all these tactics if they think their position has any merit?
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of become the devil lately. So he's kind of the new like Sean Hannity, right? Remember like Sean Hannity used to be the one that everybody bashed all the time. Like now no one really cares. I think Tucker Carlson's like the new one.
Yeah,
I kind of perceive that shift.
It's because he's popular.
Because he's so hot right now.
Yeah, I mean he is really engaging, and he does have his finger on the pulse of the dialogue. It was so funny in the Vox video. The whole premise was that essentially the idea was supposedly Tucker Carlson created the culture war on his show to distract everybody from the fact that the Republicans are giving tax cuts to the rich. And it's like, no, the culture war was started by Obama. The second he opened his mouth about if I had a son, he would look like Trayvon. So we're gonna pay very close attention to this story. It's like that was when the culture war started.
That's kind of an interesting way to define it. I wonder if there's anything else, any other like major moment like around then that you might entertain as like a contender.
No,
versus that. Like off the top of my head, I'm not sure what else it would be. I feel like you're right about that.
That was what kicked off Black Lives Matter. That happened almost exactly around the same time as Obama legalized propaganda. So he was planning it. Like he was like that was his little test subject. That was his little what specimen A or something. That was the
experiment one. Yeah.
I think like prototype. For the propaganda wave, and then all of a sudden, you know, like everyday feminism was started in 2012, and things like that that just kind of got everywhere, really kicked into high gear. And
I think BLM proper started after the Mike Brown shooting, but like a lot of people were comparing it to the Trayvon Martin thing.
Right? No, the BLM people in their mission statement said that they were inspired by the Trayvon Martin slaying, and that as soon as they heard the news, they thought that could be my brother or my cousin, and blah 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 blah. Like, you can look at it like on their site and find Alicia Garza speaking about how that was the thing.
But I'd be like, shit, your cousin's gonna go drink a bunch of cough syrup and wander out into the night and pick a fight with someone and then try to take their gun. Like,
but the thing with Mike Brown, once that happened, that was their first like presence.
Like, right. But yeah, you're probably, yeah, I can see that. But they still reference Trayvon Martin.
Yeah, that was the inspiration, and then they came into like being an actual thing when it was Mike Brown. Where did that thing go? Oh, okay, I found it. Sorry, I dropped something before and I had to find it. Yeah, the Tucker Carlson video, it's on Vox. It's so hideous because the thing is, like, they have duping delight. Like, the guy making it is like, I got something juicy. I'm gonna accuse Tucker Carlson of that exact same thing that we do, and I'm gonna get away with it. No one's gonna know. Like, that's his attitude throughout the whole video. And it's this totally gay guy is the annoying thing. Like, he looks like somebody that I would have hung out with in New York or San Francisco, like to a T. And I just hate him. Like, it's not me transferring. Yes, it is. No, it is kind of like he's like the worst type of guy that I would have known in San Francisco or maybe even in New York. He would have been like one of the late 20s, early 30s guys that I would have safely called a gay church lady, you know? Like, usually those guys were that. Like, they would have been HIV positive and do outreach for HIV testing, except for they're also drug addicts, and like you can find them all the time, and they'll like want to do coke with you in the bathroom and have sex with you or something. That's another thing about that industry, is that they recruit these very weird guys that, you know, it's like the industry revolves around gay sex, and so they recruit guys that they know the ropes, and most of those guys are still participating in it. And so it's a very, very strange thing. It's hard to do right, I suppose. So yeah, this guy seems exactly like that, but I guess he's more of a SJW. Probably has more in common with the younger non-binaries, who he probably doesn't think he's the old guard at all, but he looks like one of the guys that would be the different type. That's all I really have to say about that. Spacepan.
I'm trying to think of what else like happened this week. What else was like newsworthy? I guess everybody's talking about the Cardi B stuff. I made a video comparing that to the Pink controversy. So we have a couple of issues.
I saw you on Facebook posting about that. So because Pink circumcised her baby, Cardi B robbed men that she drugged.
Yeah, well, there was a separate video where she talks about, like, basically she'd get the men really, really fucked up and then convince them to have a threesome with a tranny, but he wouldn't know it was a tranny. So that's kind of where the rape allegation comes from. There's also like a guy who like came forward and said that he was a victim, but he's a little bit suspect. I haven't looked really far into that, but so yeah, there's all of that. People are comparing Cardi B to Bill Cosby, which I think that's unfair. I think that Bill Cosby
deserves better than that.
Yeah, like Bill Cosby, I don't think has reached Cardi B levels. Like, but yeah, and then yeah. Well, the thing with Pink was she posted that.
Could you clarify why you think that?
What I think? What with Bill Cosby?
Yeah, to the audience.
Well, the accusations, yeah, just seemed a little bit too convenient. You know, and then also, you know, you have this situation where people are like going out with him and like getting drugs from him, drinking with him, doing all this stuff, and it just seems like they're willing participants every bit along the way. Whereas with Cardi B, like she's clearly doing it with an intention to like rob them and things like that. And then of course with the timing of it, with Bill Cosby, you know, it's right when he's about to have his new show off, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah. And he's a man.
Yeah, and then of course, like, one of them comes forward, then another one comes forward, and it really just seems like opportunistic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, classic, kind of Me Too sort of thing. So, and like with the Bill Cosby allegations, like if you look at the actual statements from these people who came forward, like a lot of it is like they took these drugs, they willingly wanted to do that and go along with it, and then it seems like a case of like regret rape, if even that, you know, but. Or the Cardi B, I'm pretty sure like any of them are like, no, I didn't want to like have a threesome if I knew the person was like a dude, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's kind of apples and oranges if people like really, but just because people are like throwing it out there all the time, which like the memes are funny, like.
Mm-hmm.
Like I saw a Spice Girls meme with the lyrics of "Wannabe." If you want to be my lover, you gotta finish that drink, and the last one had Cardi B's face on it.
Mm. Well, that's a relatively common scam, like that. You like fancy looking women. They'll do it to tourists, I guess, a lot in Spain and stuff. They invite them up for a drink, and then they slip a drug into the champagne, and then they rob them.
The other thing too is the way she's like doubled down on it. She kind of has more of an attitude of like, "Fuck you for going into my past, and I did what I had to do to survive. I'm a survivor, right?" Like she's kind of like proud of it.
Yeah.
And that's the same issue with Pink too. Is that like she gets called out on social media, and you know she doubles down on it. So that kind of leads to an acceleration, right? That kind of makes both sides of it a little bit more vicious when you do the double down. Or play the victim, yeah.
Yeah. So, let's see what else we can. We should probably go for about 10 more minutes. I am kind of out of topics.
I was thinking about stuff to bring up regarding like peaceful parenting and unschooling, but now I feel like, well, we should obviously save that.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited for my ContraPoints is Anita Sarkeesian 2.0 video. I recorded about half of it last night, and then my cold voice started giving. It's going to be long. It's going to be probably around as long as my intersectional feminism is communist particle board, because I first have to go. I like it takes a while. Well, I have a little skit at the beginning, and then I go through Anita Sarkeesian, and then I go through how I learned about ContraPoints and how I realized that they seemingly had a lot in common, and then I go through like debunking a number of ContraPoints. Well, no, first I go through a live stream that ContraPoints actually did do as a debate, pointing out how dishonest ContraPoints obviously is. And then I go through 3 examples of ContraPoints video dishonesty. And then I go through general propaganda tactics and, you know, sort of like how this stuff is supplemented with psychological disarming. Psychological disarmament. I don't know if that's even a word, but yeah, that's what ContraPoints does. And it ends up being long. But I want to be very, very thorough. I don't have a feeling that if I make some sort of series of videos about ContraPoints that people will watch them all. I want it to be all together, and I want to put it to rest, because like too many people, like all these people, ContraPoints has done a very good job of deliberately making themselves hard to criticize by being so long and vague. And everybody who's smart is like, oh yeah, that person's full of crap. But people who are dumb, like, are like, I don't know. I mean, it sounds like it. The arguments sound as good as Sargon or you to me. And it's like, oh, so you just don't understand either 3 of us. Like you don't actually follow a single one of us if you would say that. You know?
Yeah, and like I think that is kind of the issue with ContraPoints is like I think often, even with people who are kind of in the middle of it, right? Like maybe they're not totally dumb, but they just like maybe they're just kind of listening and not really like watching or paying attention. You know, and there's kind of this slippery nature to ContraPoints because it's so much beating around the bush that you kind of come away with it like that kind of seems wrong. I'm not really sure exactly where to pin it down. And like it does kind of take you on like a wild goose chase to try to figure out, like, first of all, what's the actual point being made here?
Yeah.
And then like what's wrong with it, you know?
And that's very deliberate. Like the it's not just the fact that it's like these run-on sentences with, you know, like overdone vocabulary. And it's not just the fact that there's always like every single joke that's in a ContraPoints video is absurdist and distracting and irrelevant. Like the jokes are never designed to like hit a point home particularly well, almost ever. It's the jokes are generally used to just be weird and left field. It's not like a Bering video where if Bering makes a joke, you know exactly why he made it, you know. Whereas with ContraPoints, it's like, why did Contra need to have Jordan Peterson in with a cutout in the bathtub and calling him daddy? Was there any purpose of that for that? You know, so that's a distraction, and so are the run-on sentences. But then there's also the music that's always playing. There's always music in those videos, and then there's things like when Contra will try to be like talking about something and have like a chart of like 3 different things that ContraPoints is mentioning as examples. They're always really long sentences that could be written in 5 words, but instead they'll be like 12 words, and it's overlaid atop a frenetic background that makes it hard to read. This deliberately mentally exhausts people. That's psychologically disarming. It makes you feel like, wait, I think I understand that, but I don't entirely understand it because it was very long and confusing and I couldn't really read it because there was like a background behind the actual text that made it hard to read. So I'm just gonna, you know, dumb people who want to agree with the left are just gonna be like, yeah, this person sounds smart, I agree with it. But if you pause the video and read the whole thing, you're like, oh, that's not true, actually. Yeah, so all of that stuff is deliberate. And I'm going to explain exactly how it works because I actually studied that stuff. You know, it's weird. Like I forget about how, you know, it is really easy to talk smack about education and everything. But one thing that I did is like, this was my major. I majored in writing, theater, and like all sorts of media stuff. I had an internship at a film distribution company, and we talked about things like advertising and how advertisements aren't just supposed to be appealing. They're supposed to be annoying. They're supposed to exhaust you. Like the whole purpose of a mall is to give you a sensory overload so that you get confused but excited, and then you start becoming more susceptible to advertising and buying stuff, and then you have to walk around, things like that. And the ContraPoints is like, you know, 45 minutes of things that I could say in less than 10 are just that, you know. It exhausts you and it gets you to break down and just swallow it if you're dumb.
Yeah, that kind of nails it. And then that's where you have people like that Faraday Speaks guy who just kind of appeared, which like everybody thinks is super weird.
Yeah, no, he's not real. I don't think he's real.
Yeah, that's what I think too. I mean, now I think that, so I like feel stupid. But yeah, well, I have fucking ANCOMs up my ass for that video, which is amusing.
For the record, you could be right about him being a troll. I don't think he's an alt-right troll, but he could just be a troll in general. He could be a right-wing troll or a centrist troll, just somebody, you know, just sort of trolling people. That could be a case. I don't see any particular reason that he would be an alt-right troll. But yeah, I think it's more likely that he's just an actor that's supposed to oversell ContraPoints to make to make the investors think that their little plan of backing the new Anita Sarkeesian is working. That's what it seems like to me. And for the record, I'm using footage of you for the part where he talks about ContraPoints because, well, that way I don't have to like interrupt it myself so that I don't do more than 30 seconds at a time. But also because of what you say is really funny. Like he's like, and then I found a channel called ContraPoints, and man, Natalie blew my mind. Natalie, I mean, they're really cool. I related to them. They're about the same age as me. And you're like, no. Natalie is older than you. Natalie is like older, or ContraPoints is older enough to be like grooming you. And so, I mean,
it's true. It's like literally true.
No, that's a good way to phrase it.
Like, that's literally the age difference there. But
yeah.
My favorite part is when he was like talking about the New Zealand shooter, and he was like, and the memes everywhere, and he was memeing the whole time. I was like,
oh, wait, I didn't even get to that part.
He said he was memeing the whole time. He was memeing the whole time.
Oh my god,
it's so good. So he wants to like turn his channel into like a hub for the left. So I hope he succeeds. I think that'll be really great to see, because they need that.
What would that even be?
Just him and all of the bread tubers. The people who like the bread pill.
Bread tubers.
The people who read Conquest of Bread and thought it was smart. Like all half a dozen of them. But like,
the swords to plowshares people.
Something like that. Yeah. Like I was arguing with this guy about it, and he's talking about how like, no, we're just gonna have collective ownership, and it's like, yeah, but that's just a euphemism for a different form of a state. He's like, no, we just only take things from people who have property, and because that's stealing. And I'm like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. You can't have a concept of theft without a concept of property, and you can't just say, oh, well, property is fine if it's collective. It doesn't fucking mean anything. It's like, and like, to me, it's so obvious that it's hard for me to like seriously engage. And I'm just like, I'm not sure how many different ways I can state the argument for them to finally get it. So I don't know. That's like a project.
Yeah.
But he might try to make like a hub of that. But it was so funny. So he was on a live stream with I think it was Non-Compete, I think.
That is.
But he was talking about like, well, like the reason YouTube is so biased towards the right is because the right, like it's their Manhattan Project, because they appeared on all each other's shows. And because they did that, the algorithm just takes you down like this rabbit hole. And like, that's what the left needs to do. And I'm just like, how is like if this is to be taken at face value, like we have to believe that people on the left are so dumb that they didn't realize that like appearing on each other's shows or being guests on each other's channels would like link their or network their channels. And like, I feel like that's kind of what's going on, like, because they outsource so much of social cohesion to the state that it doesn't occur to them that like social structures exist.
Well, I think it's also that leftist YouTubers and SJWs and feminists like generally actually don't like each other and don't really have anything to talk about to each other with. Like, it's all about I'm the wokest. It's not about, oh my God, let's talk about this thing that we have in common, like that mutually annoys us or seems like a good idea or blah, 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 blah. Like, it's never that. It's mostly just like, I'm oppressed because I'm fat. No, I'm oppressed because I'm black. No, I'm oppressed because I'm trans. And
oh my God. Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
So like, do you see what I'm saying? It's like, it's like only competition with those people.
There's that, and there's also the fact that because they're in that self-policing, like really sterile kind of environment, like there's not a lot of tolerance. And like for example, during that stream, like somebody made a joke in the chat, like they made a joke towards the host of the stream, like oh yeah, give me that white daddy or whatever. Like they made like a joke, right? And it was like clearly like that's like a meme, like people joke about that all the time, and they're really like, I don't know if that guy is a troll or not. And then Faraday Speaks is just like, oh yeah, see, this is exactly what it's like. They use all these memes and you can't tell what's going on, blah, blah. And I'm just like, that's clearly one of your fans making a joke. And like the way you're dealing with it is like exactly why, yeah, there's like not a lot of chemistry or anything on these kinds of things. So anyway, I hope he succeeds because it'll be really entertaining to see. Because like otherwise, the only time you get any sort of hub or like official sort of show for the left is like straight up mainstream media shit. So it'd be kind of nice if like the leftist YouTubers actually like had a thing.
Yeah.
Like who's the leftist Sargon? Is it ContraPoints?
Well, yeah, but Sargon doesn't talk to anybody. Like Sargon is, or ContraPoints doesn't talk to anyone. ContraPoints is like weirdly snobby, and I think also this is a point that I bring up in the video slightly. I think that because of the fact that ContraPoints is like the least funny person alive, if you actually like hear them talk for an extended period of time, like they're not funny at all, except for their videos try so hard to be like all this like edgy humor. I don't think that ContraPoints is writing those jokes. I just don't believe it. You know,
that's like a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, because the thing is, I'm not gonna say that like I'm a super funny person, but I can't help but make jokes when you talk to me for long enough, you know? Like, I'm not saying that they're the funniest, but I do make jokes. But you see ContraPoints on a stream with like Roaming Millennial, and it's just like talking to a librarian. And then all of a sudden,
that's right. I never watched that. I heard it was bad.
Oh,
it was bad here.
It seems like it was scripted. It seems like Roaming Millennial gave ContraPoints a list of questions that she wanted to go over, and ContraPoints had like already pre-prepared answers in ContraPoints' little head, probably with their little team of PR people. And you know, like they had like already thought ahead of time about how to be cagey and avoid answering the questions in a way that would like confirm that yes, ContraPoints is exactly what you fear. But that's what I point out in my video. I'm like, no, Roaming Millennial was asking a pretty clear question and asked numerous times, and ContraPoints like wouldn't answer the question. But then right at the end of the stream comes back and admits that the whole thing was basically what Roaming Millennial thought the whole time. So yeah, I'm looking forward to putting up that video. I haven't worked hard on a video like this in a really long time, and I really think that people will probably like it.
That should be a good one. I feel like it's overdue. I feel like not enough people have done like exposés on ContraPoints for the reasons we mentioned earlier. It's just too fucking hard to nail down.
Yeah, it was exhausting. I mean, I'm going to mention in the video, ContraPoints videos are essentially response proof, because you do response videos to like 5-minute bedroom feminist videos. You don't do them to like 45-minute videos that you have to like, you know, like the fans of the ContraPoints are so obsessed with trying to say Natalie is smart that if you actually did boil down what were the actual points of the videos, and I can do that, it's not hard. The fans would be like, that's not even what the video is about. That was just one teeny piece of it. And it's like, no, that was what the video is about. So you have to actually like be fair and thorough and, you know, really explain it. But that really takes a long time. So that's why this video is going to be so long. And with that, I think I need to go. I need to repot this little cactusy thing that I have because it's dying and I don't want it to die. So I need to like grab a little clump of dirt from outside while I remember it.
I have to go outside. How can you do that though? You're a YouTuber. You don't have legs.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, okay, cool chatting with you, Spacepan. And thank you everybody who's here. And I guess we will have Dana Martin on some other time. Next week, Allison from Honey Badgers is gonna come, she said, and I will write her a reminder probably sometime this weekend. All right.
Good idea. That's a good idea.
Okay, talk to you guys later. Bye.